Welcome back to the show, everybody. Good to have you back again. Dana and I are on a roll.
Yeah.
As usual.
Ooh, a roll. I could really go for a soft, warm poppy seed roll slathered in butter. You were talking about a different kind of roll.
But when you said poppy seed, soft poppy, is it warm?
Oh, it has to be. Yeah.
Okay.
So the butter will get
that
all
brought me
melted
to a
on it.
bagel. Because I would
yes.
want like a toasted bagel with like cream cheese and lox.
Yeah.
Tomatoes and onions, which would then bring me to like what kind of coffee like I'm going to have with it.
Yep.
You see?
So this is a great example of is masking always bad? And it isn't.
Yeah.
So we're not masking right now. We're just, even though this podcast is about masking, we started out talking about my total free association of roles, and then you went into your bagel thing, and I've learned more about you. But other people would be like, why is she talking about bagel?
And get on with it.
Yeah.
Get on with, maybe that's what we'll task our Marvels, our Marvel community with that. If you ever feel like Dana and I should just get on with it, feel free to leave that in the comments. Just put, get on with it already.
I think
we don't want to hear about your poppy seed rolls.
We get a lot more comments about our authenticity being refreshing. So I think that's good. Yeah. Yeah.
We're going to go with it.
If I were giving like an address at a graduation, not that I would ever do that because it'd be too terrifying, but let's pretend I was giving a keynote address at some big school's graduation. Would I go on a diatribe about warm rolls? Probably not. Right? Even if it popped in my head,
not even a little bit.
Everything, maybe a little bit. If it pertained to the topic, I might go.
Yeah. My biggest wounding is my impulsivity surrounding unmasking.
Yeah.
And I think our community knows this about us, especially if you've been listening to us.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the richness and the robustness of our conversations, what allows for that is when we allow ourselves to go off on our tangents.
Yeah.
And then, there's a real cool dynamic synergistic thing that happens, right?
Yeah.
Because now we've got a platter of like bread. Hello. Yummy, yum. But a lot of times, and I just shared with Dana actually before we hit the record button, when I unmasked a little bit in a very large IEP meeting that I was at because I was upset about what how a team member sees this young person in a very non-neuroaffirming way. And actually, I think harmful because it's trickling down into what the one-on-one support is doing because that's their immediate supervisor, that I unmasked. And I didn't unmask all the way, but I those are moments where I go, the meeting will be done. I'll exit the meeting and go, oh, Gwen, did you have to do that? I can't tell you how many times I've been kicked under a table by an attorney or where I might get looked at because I'm like, And it's funny because that's that balance of professionalism, which old school psych grad school is like, psychologists have to be very serious people. We can't have any fun. You can't don't take, right? Plus at that time that I was being trained, it was like, you're a woman, you're Asian, like you just better get it together. And you better
don't tell them anything about yourself. Don't be human. Just be this blank slate.
Yeah. If you really want anyone to take you seriously, this is how you're going to act. And it's so far away from who I am authentically.
Yeah, that's right.
That it really wasn't till I started to be okay with letting parts of myself into my work and letting parts of myself into, thoughtfully and carefully, obviously, but into my presentations,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
just kind of, it comes more naturally for me. And so I am definitely not for everybody
Yeah.
because I'm a little off the cuff. I'm a little bit
Yeah.
wonky. I can really, but it really allows me to also see things
Yeah,
that
exactly, and be more
I,
authentic, but yeah, yeah. It's a really hard conundrum because sometimes you have to mask.
yeah.
Um, uh, I'm gonna knock on wood as I say this because I haven't been pulled over for speeding or anything like that in quite some time. But let's say you get pulled over by a cop and, you've been speeding or something. Um, Usually most of us will be like, "Oh, yes, sir, officer," try to act, uh, law abiding. So you try to get out of the ticket, right? Whereas every fiber of every being might want to be saying, "Oh, for God's sakes, this is stupid. Give me the ticket." Blah. I would want to be saying, "This is dumb," or whatever. Okay, that might be one example of something that you sort of socially withhold, just because of the situation. Another one might be you're at a restaurant and someone, it's a sushi restaurant. Say I wander into a sushi restaurant and they say, "Well, all we have is sushi, so you have to eat sushi." I'd be like, I don't like fish at all. Do I
Yeah.
have to mask enough to eat that? Would I be,
Oh,
be able to do that? Probably not, right? And is it
yeah.
okay to say, "Yeah, no, I don't like fish"? And then they'd be like, "Why are you in a sushi restaurant?" Be like, "Give me a
Yeah.
ball of rice and I'll be good to go," right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm using these sort of silly examples, but that's what we face every day, all the time, right? I had some pins taken out of my thumb yesterday. Got to have a little bit of sedation anesthesia, and I was sort of joking with the anesthesiologist. I'm like, he goes, "Oh, I'm going to give you a little bit of sedation now," and I said, "This is the only reason you have surgery. This is the best part." And right after I said it, I'm like, "Oh God, is he going to think I'm some kind of freak?" And
So,
he smiled and he
so
said, "Yeah, yep." He was just he gets it, right?
right.
Because you're scared and you don't want to feel pain. It's like, give me the good stuff. But then I could have gone on and on and on and on about what
Yeah.
my brain would associate with sedation or whatever,
Yeah.
but I don't. Would I want to if I could just do it? Sure. But I've also learned over time that people don't necessarily want all that. But like if it's a subject we're really excited about, how do you find the go between metering yourself because you don't want to say all that stuff and what you were talking about, which is I have a awareness of myself where I want to be advocating for clients, I want to be genuine, I want to use my knowledge base to do whatever. Those are all really
Yeah.
important things, but it's a far cry from how we were socialized in our grad programs, which is
Yep.
you don't challenge authority, you go with the status quo or whatever that is. And that's a lot of development and a lot of soul searching and a lot of give and take and trial to get to where you are, to where you can even say and unmask in front of this person and say, basically, "I disagree with what you're saying. And here's an
Yeah.
example of why I disagree with what you're saying." And sometimes those are hills that you should die on, right? But
Yeah.
it's really hard to know when that's okay. I've done that at work too with coworkers where I've just said, and usually has to do with things like you're talking about, which is I have to absolutely confront this ableism, or I can't bite my tongue any longer because of something like that going on. And I'll even say I can't stay silent anymore, and then I'll say what I'm saying. But that's also I didn't do a lot of that like when I first started working there because I didn't know the people, so there
Yep.
was more holding. So there's so much that goes into that, but I think masking sometimes is necessary, but it's also really hard when you unmask. When is it okay? Or like what you did, and then you sit there the whole time thinking, "Oh my God, was that okay?"
Uh-huh.
And spinning your wheels like, oh my God, are they going to think I'm crazy? Or are they going to say, "Oh, Gwen, she's a problem," or what's going to happen now as a result of
Yeah.
this being genuine or you
Yeah.
could say unmasking, right? It's really
Yeah.
complicated and can be incredibly scary.
It is because there's a vulnerability
Yep.
to it,
Yep.
and we
Yep.
shouldn't be vulnerable in unsafe environments. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
much, maybe what it comes down to is that masking should be a decision,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
instead of it being reflexive because you've always masked and you've learned that that's how it always is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? This idea of, no, I know myself. I know what environments where I can be myself or what degree of that. This is a continuum, obviously. This is not
Right.
an all or
Right.
nothing
Yep.
thing. And I choose to
Yeah.
mask in these situations. I'm going to need to mask in when I give testimony. That's probably the only time where you'll see me the
Oh,
most
yeah, like in court. Yeah. Oh, yeah, heavily
is in
masking, which is probably why I
testimony.
hate it so much. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know, me too. I'm very locked down in testimony.
Yeah.
Because I can't do the things that make it relatable to people.
Right.
Unless the judge is asking me a specific question, I can give her a fun kind of example or something, but I can't usually go off the rails too much. But that idea of like masking is a decision, masking is intentional. And if you find yourself saying, gosh, I have no environment to truly unmask myself,
yeah.
then maybe that's the starting point.
You've got to be exhausted is the first thing that
Oh
comes to
my God.
mind for me.
Talk about burnout. No wonder there's
And
a
that's
burnout, right?
you're absolutely right. That's one of the main contributors to
Yeah.
burnout is continually not being who you really are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is really that masking.
Mhm.
So of course, Dana and our answer to is masking always bad?
No.
We say it depends.
Yeah, it depends. Masking is not always bad, but I would say always masking.
Yes.
Never unmasking, actually bad, right? Probably a lot of
Bad.
the clients we see are people that have had to mask and have lost track of who they are, and we help them try to find that again.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
absolutely. And this is why I also think when my clients don't have the ability to control their personal space at home,
Oh, yeah.
it's a problem. Like,
Yep.
it's the first thing that I lock down, which is protect that personal space
Aw.
in
Yeah,
your own home.
yeah, yeah,
If you can. If you can. That's not
yeah,
always possible. But I just find like that becomes a sanctuary because so often we talk about hustle and we
yeah.
don't talk about rest and recovery enough. And
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
we
My
need
I
we
my
need to know
upbringing
that.
was so messed up, I've alluded to it here, but one of the things my parents did well, there were more than one. We had our bedrooms, and that was our sanctuary. They never came in there. And in
Really?
hindsight, it's like, "That's great. That was great. We had that. If you were in your room, that was it. You just didn't get infringed upon," which was awesome. Yeah.
That's awesome, Dana. I can
Mhm.
hear parents all around the world screaming at like, "What? Can you imagine how many dirty dishes would be in
Well,
there?"
that's I
And
was just gonna say, that's
it's
probably the reason I had dirty dishes and had bugs in there until I got to an age where I was like, "God, I'm living like a pig. I should clean this up." But I did
yeah,
get there on my own, right? But yeah,
right.
yeah,
Which is more efficacious, to be quite
yeah,
honest.
yeah.
And
Now I am
so
obsessively clean, so
oh
I
yeah,
don't know, but yeah, yeah.
yeah, we share many things in common. And Dana and I mean, I
Trying
think
to get
I
along
shared
so
with Dana
well.
a long time ago that I think my tendonitis on my right elbow is from
Oh,
too much
yeah,
vacuuming.
yeah, yeah.
Anyway, but
I know, I'm
you
thinking
know,
of was this is like we have guests coming this week, and I'm like, "Oh, crap, I should have vacuumed before the surgery." All I'm thinking about is cleaning the house now. I'm like, "Crap,
well, at least
it's
you have a
okay if the
vacuum on the
house
top
isn't
floor.
pristine." Yeah, and
Yeah, you
I'm
don't
letting
you're
myself
it
say it's fine if
yes.
it's not pristine.
That's
It's gonna
right,
be a
and they're your
challenge.
friends. It's
That's
okay.
unmasking for me.
That
Ah,
is I know,
yeah.
I hear you. We've got my husband's family from Canada are coming in
Mm.
tomorrow,
Mhm.
and I was like, "What?"
Crap, now I have to clean the house too.
I might have been up at 4 a.m. and gotten a text from my neighbor saying, "WTF."
You can hear the vacuum.
Trying to
What are you
sleep over
doing?
here.
Oh god.
My
Yeah,
bad.
yeah. So I love
My
that we
bad.
can
Sorry.
give examples of all the because that's like a level of you could say unmasking or masking depending
Yeah.
on what way you're looking at it. So
Yeah.
it's complicated. Yeah,
It's
yeah.
complicated. It depends.
Yes,
It's
masking can be
complicated.
good and unmasking can be really good too. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the
Yeah.
takeaway.
All right, everyone. I will say I do hope that you have a place where you can be unmasked
Absolutely.
for a good amount of time in your day, a
That's
necessary
right.
amount of time in your day where you can
Yeah.
get your bearings back and refill that tank and go out
Absolutely.
into that big bad world again. All right, everyone. Be good to you. We'll see you in the next
Bye,
episode. Bye.
everybody.